Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Rob here with WePayOffDebt.ca, and I've got a video for you today talking all about reimbursable expenses. So what do I mean by reimbursable expenses? I mean stuff that you're spending money on that's gonna be paid back to you. Now you think, well, Rob, this doesn't happen to me very much. It might. For instance, in your job, sometimes, and this is really unfortunate, the job shouldn't do this, but they make you, if you need to spend something on behalf of work, will make you spend your own money, fill out some sort of paperwork, and get paid back for that. That's possible. That happens a fair amount. Second situation that this can show up in is a church or a hobby or a league or anything like this you're a part of. Many times, if there's something the organization is purchasing, they'll often get you to pay for it. So if you're working for your child's soccer team and they may not buy the uniforms or the equipment or the ball or whatever you need, they may not buy all of it, and they may expect you to buy some of it and then get reimbursed. The other possibility, and this is probably most common, is health-related stuff. So are you having to get prescriptions that you've got health coverage for, but they don't direct bill, and so you have to go, you buy it, you get the bill, and then you have to go through the process of claiming it. A lot of people have a healthcare spending account these days, where what that is exactly that. It's extra money that can be spent on pretty much anything health-related, but you got to claim it. So even if this isn't you, obviously, it might be you incidentally. There's three options I'm going to give you today for dealing with these and really tracking them, keeping track of them, and when they hit your budget and actually sticking to a good budget, these things can throw you off if you don't have a plan on how to deal with them. So here we go. Number one, if you are doing a lot of reimbursement, the best thing, the absolute best thing, is to get a whole separate bank account. Whole separate bank account. Head on down to Superstore or to Superstore, Tangerine. The Superstore used to be called PC Financial. Now it's Simply Financial, right? Head on, get a Tangerine account. Get one of these online, usually, but not necessarily, free bank accounts. Okay, I certainly wouldn't get one with a monthly fee, but get something with no annual fee, no monthly fee that you can use this account for. And the way you use it is, out of your budget, first you have to seed it. And so you seed it with a certain amount of money, let's say $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, whatever it is that you usually get out of pocket, specifically, that you usually get out of pocket before getting reimbursed. Because what you're going to do is you're going to seed the account with that amount, and then every reimbursable expense you buy out of that account, and when reimbursements come in, they go straight into the account. And if you do this correctly, it's always going to balance, right? The only thing you ever spend out of that account is reimbursable expenses, and the only thing that ever goes back into that account are the reimbursements for those expenses. If you do that perfectly, you seed it once, and you never ever think about it again. The only caveat, I guess, is that you seed it with enough that you don't run out. And so you might want to look back in the last, say, 6 months, last year, how much have you been out of pocket at any one time, and that's your new seed amount, maybe plus $100 or $200, and call that your new seed amount. Okay? So that's the best way in a lot of ways because it gets it completely out of your budget. You don't have to think about it. That's huge. And when we're talking about having a budget that we're going to track every single penny, which is an absolute necessity. Make sure you see my other videos on that if you haven't. But we need to keep things easy, keep things as simple as possible to do. And so what does that mean? It means we get it out of the account if we can. So that's step one. That's option one. If you don't want to do that because you don't spend a ton out for reimbursable expenses, right? That's me, for instance. I don't spend a ton. I do it a couple times a year, per term, maybe somewhat, right? A little bit more in a 4-month term, but not a ton overall, okay? So I got two more options for you. Number two is use your buffer zone for it. So I talked about this in another video, and I'll link that below so you can check out the details of what a buffer zone is and what it's for and what it's not. It's not an emergency fund. The emergency fund is separate from all of this discussion. You would never use an emergency fund for a reimbursable expense unless it's an emergency. That's the key. Emergency means emergency fund is emergencies only. Okay? So number 2 was put it inside the buffer zone. So I've got a buffer zone right now in my account, and so the buffer zone, here's the start of the month. This is how much money is in my account, and it starts to go down. It starts to go down until I get paid, and it starts to go down again until I get paid again. If you use the buffer zone, so the cash in the buffer zone becomes the money you're using for the reimbursable expenses, and so you get a reimbursable expense, and then your money goes down. Now, the danger with this, if you have too many reimbursable expenses or too many other expenses in the month, or you just track one of these incorrectly, you will go poof, negative. And that's a problem. Obviously, can't go negative. Okay? So this option is the hardest to track of all of these. Now, I don't mean tracking your expenses as you put them out and you get them back in. That I'm going to give you a little PDF for. So make sure you get the free PDF on this download. I'm just going to give you a basic checklist. If you're keeping track, you can print this out, stick it on your fridge, stick it by your office, whatever you do to keep track of money as it comes in and as it goes out. But that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the issue of tracking this within your budget. Okay? So that's the second option. Number 3, which may be the easiest in some sense, is just go ahead and call it an expense. Go ahead and call it an income. So what does that mean? So if this month you've got a trip that you have to pay for, go ahead and enter in your budget, $600, $1,000, whatever it is for this trip. And you just cash flow it and you pay for it. And if you don't get reimbursed for 3 months, then you don't get reimbursed for 3 months. You don't care, you just spent the money. Now, in 3 months, when it comes in, you actually now have a bigger income. So you just put that on the income in your zero-based budget, and you have more income, and you get to choose what to do with that at that point. So this is easiest, but it's also not right, because you're recording it as an expense when it wasn't your expense, it was your business's expense. So it's not ideal, okay? So hopefully you found those useful. Definitely check out that PDF I've got below, in and out, keeping track of because you want to make sure you get every penny that's owed to you. Hope you find that useful. Shoot me an email, rob@wepayofdebt.ca, and let me know if I can help any further.